Good morning, everyone. It is an absolutely beautiful morning in mid August. And I'm just thinking this morning about a little video I want to do. And so I'm doing it, shooting it in Rosie, the 59 Shasta. Obviously, Rosie is featured frequently on this channel. And the reason Rosie is really featured so frequently is because Rosie is a sort of what I consider to be like a sacred writing spot or a very peaceful writing spot at the very least. And I think it's really, really important as writers, as creatives of any type really, but writing tends to in many ways be more portable than many forms of creativity. If you're a visual artist, for example, if you're a sculptor or a dancer or a singer, you tend to need, maybe not a singer so much, but you tend to need sort of specialized equipment. You tend to need specific spaces, let's say if you're a dancer or a painter or a sculptor. If you're a writer, and I'm just going to keep panning around because it's a pretty small space, but it's a fun space. Oh, the cattle dog is doing something. All right, nope, false alarm. If you are a writer, it is literally um, as simple as grabbing a pen and a napkin, a pen and a notebook, and going to your space. It doesn't have to be a vintage camper. I feel very fortunate to have this camper, by the way. We found it online at a sort of an interesting time. There's a whole sort of backstory behind it. For a really, really screaming deal, the previous owner had taken very good care of her and had really used her, had gone out into the woods and hauled her out there. He and his wife had camped in her, and she's mostly parked at my place at this point, but found her for a great deal at a time when it was just a really wonderful thing, and she is well loved, well used, and I just love her. But again, if you're a writer, it can be as simple as grabbing your notebook, grabbing your pens, grabbing your writing prompts if you have them. Those are my writing down the bones deck, which I just love. And heading to a favorite coffee shop, heading to your kitchen table, heading to that one chair that you like to write in, heading to your desk, and having a space that doesn't have to be dedicated to just writing. It can be also used for other things throughout the day, if, with your family or whatever. But just having that place where when you sit down, it is a place that is very conducive to just turning your attention to the task at hand, turning your attention to some writing time. And maybe that's journaling, as I tend to do in my notes book. Maybe it's more structured work on a project. It doesn't matter. Some people work well in a public space, others not so much. I tend to get very distracted if I'm going to, let's say, a coffee house or any sort of public place, even a park. My brain tends to want to keep track of what's going on outside and who's saying what, and so I can have a very difficult time focusing on the actual writing. I have my wonderful tortilla blanket on the bed because of the dogs, and then those little red and white spinny things are for when we put up the bright red easy up tent and hang them from that. But obviously, right now the tent is not up. Um, when we can just sort of switch into that mode of, okay, now this is writing time, it can be a truly wonderful thing. And it can be a very habit building practice. And I know for myself, even if I don't come out here for a few days, I tend to miss it. And I'm at the point now where morning rosy time, especially now that it's summer and the weather is beautiful in the mornings, morning rosy time with my journal and my coffee has just become incredibly important to me. And it's a wonderful start to the day. But obviously, it doesn't have to be in the morning. Not everyone can do their writing time in the morning. But it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing whenever you do it to just have that place. Anyone who's ever done any sort of meditative practice knows that having a little bit of a routine prior to starting can really help sort of sink you down into that mood, so to speak. So I'm a big fan of that. I'd love to hear from you if you have a place that tends to help you sink into the practice of writing a little bit, a place that um, helps you quiet your mind if that's an issue for you. I know it's an issue for me to get into that writing spot. So it's really helpful if I can be physically in a place that helps me to quiet my mind. Back in the days when I was training horses, we had a saying that I just loved, and it was influence the horse mentally by influencing the horse physically. So if you could physically get the horse in a situation, in a location, in a frame physically, which means basically just getting their body into a certain organizational state, for lack of a better term, you could really help influence them mentally, especially if they were being very high strung or stubborn or just unhappy about something or having a hard time focusing. And I think that the same is very, very true for writers. So, as I said, I would love to hear from you. What is your happy place as a writer? Where do you find that if you are in that location, the ideas can tend to flow? Things tend to just go well, and you have that sort of Zen moment of getting into the writing and feeling afterward like, yeah, this was a good thing. I'd love to hear it. So let me know.